territorial and air sovereignty rights of all nations, according to a statement from U.S. European Command. Although General Raymond T. Thomas, the head of the Pentagon's Special Operations Command, recently told Congress that SOF forces were over-deployed and could not sustain the current global op-tempo, there are still special operations units in the Baltics to work with and reassure Baltic states. They're scared to death of Russia, Thomas told the New York Times in January of this year. According to the New York Times report from earlier this year, Thomas has visited the Baltics on numerous occasions. He told the paper, "They're desperate for our leadership." As a result, General Thomas said, "American commandos now have a persistent presence here with Baltic Special Operations troops, after forging close ties with them over the past decade while fighting together in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Americans bring sophisticated surveillance technology and broad sources of intelligence," the New York Times reported. Soft training of motivated Baltic resistance forces, combined with an ability to provide ground-based targeting assistance for NATO attack aircraft, would likely make it difficult for advancing Russian ground forces to mass together in more condensed mechanized formations. Grouping into a large force-on-force structure would naturally make advancing combat units more vulnerable to air attack. However, Russia still has more than 27,000 tanks, such as thousands of modernized T-72s, according to open-source assessments in globalfirepower.org. In addition, Russia is receiving much attention for its emerging fleet of armored vehicles such as the T-14 tank. With its 125mm smoothbore cannon and next-generation armor and sensors, advancing T-14s could present problems for some ground defense units. The multi-role elements of the F-35 include long-range surveillance and targeting sensors, air-to-air combat technology, air-to-air weapons, air-to-ground weapons and close air support in the form of a 25mm gun mounted on the aircraft. However, any Russian invasion would likely include Su-35 or Su-27 fighter jet support from the air to assist advancing ground forces. Such a scenario might necessitate the presence of US F-22s in addition to F-35s as a way to ensure air-to-air superiority. At the same time, it is also highly conceivable that the F-35 could, by design, detect Russian fighter aircraft at much farther ranges than they themselves can be seen. Such is the rationale of engineers who created the F-35, who built the F-35's distributed aperture system and electro-optical targeting system to detect and engage enemy targets while safely positioned at greater distances out of range of enemy sensors. Also, advanced data links built into the F-35 would likely facilitate an unprecedented measure of air-to-air targeting connectivity and real-time ISR data, making things much more precarious for attacking Russian ground units. Russian-built S-300 and S-400 anti-aircraft air defenses, if maintained and modernized, are said to be particularly effective and among the best in the world, experts have said. In addition, the national interest has reported that Russia is now developing an upgraded S-500 air defense system able to find and destroy enemy targets at ranges up to 125 miles away. These modernized Russian air defenses, which are now better networked with faster processors and able to detect aircraft on a wider range of frequencies, would likely present problems for NATO F-35s should they fly within range in a combat scenario. While stealth characteristics of the F-35, coupled with advanced electronic warfare jamming technology, would likely succeed in eluding engagement radar designed to specifically target aircraft with high-frequency radar, it is less likely that the F-35 would be able to avoid lower-frequency surveillance radar designed to merely detect whether an enemy aircraft is in the vicinity. Given these risks, armed drones, long-range ground rockets or high-altitude bombers might be an advisable strategy when contemplating attacks on Russian air defenses. Given that these air defenses are mobile, some of them truck-mounted, they would likely advance alongside attacking forces as a counterbalance to NATO aircraft. For instance, Should a ground-mobile GPS-guided Army-guided multiple-launch rocket system enter within its 80-kilometer range of Russian air defenses, it could unquestionably launch land attacks against Russian air defenses, perhaps with